Hello there, everybody, and welcome back to Circling Seattle Sports on Converge Media. Charles, joined by Bel, as always, here to go over another week of Seattle sports. This is the end of January. It felt like January dragged on. I mean, I don't know about you, but it felt like we've kind of dragged on. We're here at the 31st today, finally, and things will only get more interesting from here on out.
Yeah, so there's a lot happening starting February. A lot of seasons kicking off, free agency kicking off. But for me, my January felt like it was way fast, and I was not prepared for February yet. So we're just going to dive right in our first segment on the Seahawks. We have a few things to note with the Seahawks. Quandre Diggs headlined the All NFC honors. So he was selected to the Pro Football Writers of America's All NFC team as well. And of course, he's expressed interest in coming back to the team. But given his good season, he wants to be accurately compensated as well, which, I mean, would you say that it's deserved?
Oh, I mean, come on. At least in my opinion, Quandre Diggs had the best season of any free safety in the league last year, and was, I don't know if it's arguably. I know that in our season recap, I gave the Defensive Player of the Year honor to somebody else, but that was more due to the situation. I think that Quandre Diggs was the best player on the defensive side of the ball last year. You know, it's tough with injuries and such. You know, Jamal Adams goes down, Bobby Wagner goes down, second to last game of the year. But just in terms of a guy who made a huge jump, you know, was playing some cornerback in Detroit just a few years ago before we traded like a fifth rounder for him. And then once we traded for him, I know the game that was played right after that was I think it was the game against the 49ers on Monday Night Football, and had an interception in that game. Immediate impact. Quandre Diggs has been a valuable part of this secondary, let alone this defense, you know, since being acquired by Seattle. And he's been playing for a small amount of money. So to lock him up, I think we talked about it in that 3 to 4 year range would be ideal. And I'd say I'm not good with cap space. I am not the football numbers guy. I'm not the contract numbers guy at all. But if we're looking at it, say 12 to 14 million a year is serviceable. I mean, I know your friend on your laptop there, Devontae Adams, wants $30 million a year, which is insane. That's like monopoly money.
That's a top wide receiver in comparison there.
Yeah, but I mean, $30 million is just incredible to think about. But, you know, 3 to 4 years, I think if you're asking me if he's earned it, I'd say absolutely.
Yes, I agree. I didn't think that there was going to be any pushback from you, just like there wasn't from me. And hopefully the Seahawks get him what he deserves as well. In other news, Russell Wilson will actually be playing quarterback for the NFC in the Pro Bowl. He is stepping in place of Tom Brady, who is injured and can no longer play. Following with the Tom Brady news here, not to not give Russell his praise, I just kind of wanted to dive in and mention that Tom Brady is not yet officially retiring. There were several reports over the weekend that said that he would be retiring and that he had made his decision, but there were also reports pushing back saying that he had not actually made that decision yet. Do you think that plays into his absence from the Pro Bowl at all?
I wouldn't say so, because I can't tell you when I've seen Tom Brady play in a Pro Bowl. Yeah. So I think he just skips those anyway. It's an interesting decision that's going to be made. I remember seeing the initial headline, you know, reported by Adam Schefter that Tom Brady was retiring. It was just kind of like, hey, this is weird, because Tom Brady has been playing football longer than I've been alive. Okay. We'll put that into perspective. It'll age some people. I'm sorry about that. Yes. Okay. It's a really interesting situation, because the Buccaneers have some decisions to make. You know, I know Gisele Bündchen's like, hey, I don't like seeing you get hit. I need you to retire. You've got kids. Yeah. You know, and there's obviously the family aspect of it that comes into play so many times when retirements come up, right? And being injured, right? I mean, his body, you know, as much fitness as he does, as much of the TB12 program he's got going on, guys like Aaron Donald are going to hit you, and it's going to hurt. Right. And your knees can only take so much. Those frail old legs of his can only take so much. So I wouldn't doubt that he retires, but also knowing the player and the competitor that Tom Brady is, I doubt that he goes out in the divisional round like that.
Okay.
I just don't think he would. So if we're giving me a concrete answer, I'm saying no. I don't think he's done.
You don't think he's done? Okay,
Mm-mm.
that's interesting.
Mm-mm.
I heard reports just saying that he was mentioning to family members the situation that happened with Kobe and how life can be so short. So that being an influence. And I think that if he did choose to retire now, he didn't go out without a fight. And I would say that maybe he could be satisfied with the ending.
It's just tough. I
Yeah.
mean, a guy that gets ticked off at like some of the smallest slights and is such a competitor, I would expect him to not go out. Like, you'd think he'd want to go out on top. But also, like you're saying, I mean, I'm sure he does think about that kind of thing, going out when the time is right and not just trying again and again. I mean, you look at like Peyton Manning and Big Ben's careers, they were just horrid quarterbacks
Yeah,
at the end of their careers. And I'm sure, I mean, if you look at him right now, I would say he's got like 2 years left
I
of
agree.
playing solid football.
Yeah.
So, but it also, it's like, hey, maybe like you were saying, maybe he's like, I've done what I need to. 7 championships, 3 MVPs. More than likely the greatest player of all time, and that's debate your mother about that. That's a whole different conversation. But it is just something interesting to think about, But it was really such a whirlwind. I get the notification from Adam Schefter, and then it's like, hold on, he's telling his GM, I haven't made a decision yet. I'm not
Yeah.
close to a decision, So that's something to think about. And because it affects the entire football world. Because if we're looking at it, the Seahawks aspect, it clears out the NFC. It just takes another contender out of the NFC. So that'll be really interesting to follow and see how that goes.
Definitely left his mark in the NFL, and he'll go out a champion in everyone's eyes. So, regardless of his decision, we wish him the best. In other league news, there will now be a Senior Bowl. It's debuting first ever NFL Combine for student athletes of HBCUs. If you don't know what an HBCU is, it's a historically Black college and university. So that's interesting, and surprised that it took them this long to bring that in, actually.
It's a big deal, for more than one reason. Having the Senior Bowl itself is cool for college athletes and all that, but to have one for historically Black colleges and universities, it's a big deal. With Deion Sanders going to coach Jackson State, that was a big step in itself. It's like, hey, this is prime time. This is the best cornerback of all time. Just the impact that he has as a player there is a big deal, right?
Yeah.
Because I know that I think he had spoken with Florida State about a job like that, his alma mater. But deciding, hey, let's go a different route, right? And then I think you saw it recently, I believe it was in December, the top recruit in the nation flipped from Florida State to Jackson State because of Deion Sanders. Yep. And I mean, he's just had there's a lot of momentum right now. And I think that's great. And I think it is great that they're going to have a combine, for HBCUs at the Senior Bowl. I mean, I think that should have been, it just puts more athletes on a showcase. I know that 2019, Bobby Wagner each week would have a clothing item or an apparel item from each of the HBC, well, not each of them, but an HBCU, each different week, and showcase them each different week. So I thought that was really cool. So this is just more momentum. I know that on a smaller note, well, not smaller, not necessarily, but Grambling State is going to have an NIL deal for all scholarship athletes that they can have a annual income. That's a big deal. Yeah. I mean, as someone in college, that's a big deal, So it's really cool to just follow this. And I figured that was something that, especially, being here at Converge, it should be talked about. And
definitely.
It's incredible to see that, to see what Deion's doing there, but also, you see this with the Senior Bowl. So there's good momentum here.
That's good. And we hope that it continues and people will get the looks that they need. And hopefully that brings a lot more talent into the NFL. Last thing to touch on is that our Super Bowl 56 matchup is set. We have the Bengals facing the Rams on February 13th. So who are we looking to as hoping to win here.
This should be an obvious answer. Whoever was coming out of the AFC was going to be who I was rooting for, at least. And at least if you're a Seahawks fan, that should be obvious as well. Go Bengals. Go Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase. They've got talent. It's going to be a good game. It should be a good game. I don't expect the Rams to put up 3 points like their last Super Bowl appearance. I'm sure that might sting for them, at least the people who were on the roster at that time. Obviously playing with a different quarterback now. But yes, go Bengals in short.
Agreed. So going